Okay, so welcome back, guys. Now, I've just arrived back from the States where I was working on the Jaguar and the 190 SL. Now, while I was out there, I think before I left, by the way, I sort of stressed my frustration that it was really difficult to get parts or any kind of help with the 928 in the UK. I think I mentioned before, these so-called UK specialists try and find one that'll work on a 928. Most of them just want to work on 911s because they're a lot easier to work on. These are a little bit more complicated, so I think they just take the easy money half the time, but which is a shame. Anyway, while I was over there, I was put onto a guy called Roger, who runs a company called 928 Autos, and they're based out in Dallas. Now, it was just one quick phone call, and he went, "I've got everything you need." I explained I was going to do the cam belt on my GT, and I wanted to use the Gates cam belt, which he supplied. He said there's only one belt from Gates for that car, even though it's listed as having three. I think there's a 157. There's a stretch and a normal one. Well, that's what it says anyway when you look at the information that's available over here. But no, he basically just said, "Look, I'll confirm it to you. There's one belt for that car," and yeah. Anyway. So I've stressed that I wanted the pork tensioner, which I think is much better because the original, it doesn't retension the original one, the original Porsche one. So you have to keep taking it back to Porsche, 1,000 miles later, and then another 1,000 miles later, and ka-ching. So yeah, I'm going to fit the pork tensioner, the Gates belt, and I just said, "Look, just give me everything you think I'll need." So he's given me something to lock the time, the lock and timing tool. I also purchased, let's have a look at this. It's got a noisy wheel bearing. I think it's the rear left. So got one of those as well, which I'll get to and fit. Yeah, there's the tensioner and the pulley. There's various brackets. And also it's recommended that while you're in there, you replace the water pump. And the one that they recommend is the Lasso water pump. So yeah, that'll be getting fitted as well. And I think you'll notice here, there's my seal for the water pump. Well, I just thought it'd be a little bit enterprising and use my initiative so it wouldn't get damaged in the case. So yeah, I'm all set to go. So basically it's next up with the Porsche. But I also came across this footage that I shot like sometime last year. I was invited out to Castle Combe to watch a couple of the pals just taking the cars through the paces, various classic cars, and I think it'll be interesting to watch as well. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you after you've viewed it. Founded in 1950, Castle Combe Circuit now offers a packed calendar of non-stop white-knuckle action across 2- and 4-wheel machines. But before that, from 1941 to 48, the Castle Combe estate, owned by the Ghost family, was used as an RAF airfield and training ground for pilots during World War II. When the war ended, the land was returned to the Ghost family, and with a family member being married to the chief designer of Fraser Nash and engine developer of Bristol Motors, the development of a race car track was almost inevitable. So came the first race in 1950.
Is it wobbling? Yeah.
Greats such as Sterling Moss and Roy Salvadori and Mike Hawthorne all raced here. In 1955, Harry Schell drove a van wall to victory in the Avon Trophy F1 race. But because of the Le Mans disaster of that same year, Castle Combe couldn't afford new safety regulations, so in that same year the property was divided up and sold. So in the subsequent years, up until 1961, only motorcycle racing, sprints and tests were held. In the 1970s and 80s, they hosted the British Touring Car Championships, and during the 1990s, F1 stars such as Jenson Button and David Coulthard all raced here in their formative years. colour, that, isn't it?
It's a Nissan colour.
Just bought another Corniche convertible, and it's bright red. So I'm going to paint it. It was originally willow gold, but I'm going to paint it like a Nissan colour or something. You know?
Well, this is Nissan Pewter, and I did loads of blow-ins on the back corner. I stuck it in the booth and literally sat there with about 10 different colours and put the base coat on, waiting for it to flash off, put some you know, some panel wipe on there just to give it the reflection, just until I got it to what I wanted. And I couldn't decide whether to go bronze, whether to go green, whether to go this.
Panel wipe on, yeah? Doesn't that make it micro blister, the panel wipe?
Well, if you put the panel wipe on, all I did was put the colour on, i.e. in the base coat, the metallic base coat, and then to give it the reflection, just sprayed on some panel wipe. And that then gave me the reflection, if you like, the clear over the top.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I always thought panel wipe caused it to micro blister.
As long as you let it flat off, you're fine.
Mind you, how many times have we done this, and then you start spraying, you think, I've just put panel wipe in instead of the thinners.
No, I've never done that.
Oh, I've done that, and it was all right, and it was a good paint job. Only on a wing, you know.
I'll tell you what I have done. I've painted a guy bought in a Focus ST, a red Focus ST, and as you know, Ford paint being red, every panel's a different colour anyway. And he wanted the bumper done, and he bought that in, and I ordered the paint. The paint turned up, prepped it all because it had a few cracks in this, that, and the other. Done loads and loads of work on it. Mixed the paint up, in with the thinners. There we go. Bash, bash, bash. 20 minutes later, I'm thinking, I'm like on the paper. I'm like, it's not flashed off. What's going on here?
No hardener.
Oh no. It wasn't base coat. It wasn't base coat. It was 2-pack, and I mixed it with thinners. So I ended up scraping the lot back to the original pack.
You ended up painting the whole car.
Well, yeah.
You know, I almost bought one of these when I was 24.
Yeah.
I was in Liverpool working, and a musical director on a show had one of these in his basement with all the race numbers on.
Yeah.
And the story was 2 Italian guys had come over, blew the car up in Liverpool, couldn't get back, didn't have the money to get back. He gave him the flight to get back, and they said keep the car. And he wouldn't sell it to me. And then eventually I bumped into him, and he basically scrapped it. You know, he was going to do it up one of them. But
it's quite funny because
it's a 356B.
Yeah, this isn't an SC, so the C with the bigger engine. But there's a couple of stories with 356s very locally to me. And there was one guy who got himself in some financials, and he had a bit of a fire sale. And it sort of went round the pub on the Friday night of who do we know, sort of thing, who's into cars. Anyway, I didn't get the call because I wasn't in the pub that night. And they cleared out the garage, and somebody bought a 356A right-hand drive 59, and he'd give 11,000 quid for it.
No wonder you didn't get the
Recently,
phone call.
I was well unhappy.
I wouldn't have called you.
Do you know what? The worst thing is, the guy that bought it is into Porsches, but he just flipped it. At that point, it's a holy grail car, you keep it, just to have it.
There's been a couple of them like that where I live back in Liverpool, and you know, a couple of streets away, whatever, and the old man dies, and the son doesn't know what it is, and it always goes to the wrong person. You just flip it or throw it straight in auction and they share out the money.
Yeah, it's a shame, innit?
Why didn't I hear about this? For obvious reasons, that's why.
I mean, this is quite funny because I bought this. I went to a car show which is on once a year in a pub, and there was a guy there who turned up in it, who'd come to look at buying a VW bay window off me a number of weeks before. And I did the normal, is it real? Blah, 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 as everybody does with a 356, because very few people know the difference between a real one and a not real one without actually looking. And
Chisel,
well, with any of the replicas, you know, the Beetle-based replicas, I think because there's so few of them, everybody presumes it's a kit car. Same with the Cobra, everybody presumes it's a kit car. And I sort of said, you know, what's the number on it? And he told me, and I was like, bloody hell, I could probably make that work. So I got in contact with the guy who owned it, and we did a deal over about 3 or 4 months. And what I paid for it was absolutely ridiculous. So cheap all those years ago.
Yeah, but you think they're so cheap, John, but look at the amount of work that goes into
them. That's fair enough, but I don't count that.
These are a pig to restore, aren't they?
I don't count that because I enjoy it. I'm one of them lucky people that does for a living what I enjoy doing for my hobby.
There's plenty of us about like that. But
there's not that many though. You've got to count your chickens.
Once you start having to hit deadlines, all the fun goes out of the hobby.
Don't do deadlines.
So what engine's in this?
This is engine on it. Yeah. So the 356C was offered.
First of all, what's that gauge there?
So all my cars have these. Most of my cars are modified in one way, shape or form. And that really is just to say, look, you know, I really don't care. Because I don't.
Well, you could have fooled me.
Because a lot of people You know, this is a long way from standard, a huge way from standard. And a lot of the Porsche guys look at it and go, well, what have you done to that? You've ruined it.
All the purists.
All the purists, and there's a lot of them. So, yeah, that's my little thing to say, actually. It's my car and I do with it as I wish.
The biggest purists, John, are these
detailers.
They're the worst. It's like, how can you do that? How can you wash that with that sponge? It's like,
I told him this morning,
it's my car.
I use Fairy Liquid.
Yeah. What are you using that junk for? Star Drops is the one. And a sponge that you dropped a few times.
Yeah. You know, mindless violence aside, and children dropping things in the garage on it, I really am not precious about any of my cars, and they're there to be enjoyed. Yeah, of course I can. Yeah. I don't know whether they cleaned it. Did you clean the engine?
Oh, forget it then. Oh, wow. Just a Beetle, isn't it?
It is not a million miles away. The only discernible difference with the Beetle really is the oil filler here.
Yeah.
The slant on the top of the crankcase, which is different. On a Beetle, it's flat.
Yeah.
And the oil filter. To most people, they just wouldn't know the difference. 12-volt engine, it's all on 12 volts, originally 6-volt.
And what's the timing set at, like 10?
No, it's on an 012, which is a timer. It's a distributor made by, and I'm going to say one of the big Porsche restorers, because I can't think who it is.
Come on, you're on the spot now. Come on.
I don't know. I've got no idea. But I bought it because the original distributors are a real pain, and everybody puts 009s in.
Yeah.
And the advance curve on them is terrible. So this one is basically based on the 009, but with the same curve as an 012, BR012, which is the original cast distributor, which I do happen to have. I just never changed it. Timing, I tend to run them. You know, it sets up a bit like a 009, so it's sort of 30 on static, and it's not too bad. I've always had a tiny bit of a flat spot about 3,000 revs anyway, which might be down
to the valve?
Do you know what? Once a year, that's it. I maintain it in terms of.
Doesn't that make a massive difference? Massive
not
difference.
really. I don't find that, because I don't find the movement on them.
I think they always go out the gaps. They always go
no,
out.
I don't find that, you see. But yeah, it's numbers matching right the way through. So it's numbers matching engine, gearbox, body, everything. The engine is the SC, which is basically the 912 engine. So the 912 engine is this, but at 90 brake horsepower. The 356 SC had the same engine, but at 95 brake horsepower. So it's a little bit more powerful than the 912, and a lot lighter. Yeah. So it's quite fun. Yeah, I've got a bit of a perversion for Monaco badges. So I've got tons of those, so they ended up on here, and
they're perfectly placed as well. You're OCD,
yeah. I try and get the stance right, the colour right, the period accessories right, and you just try and get it right. Even my stupid gauge in the back is a motor meter gauge to match the motor meter temperature gauge in the centre of the dashboard. You know, so you know, Hoare time clocks, correct period. They're not tag Hoare, they're Hoares. Motor meter timing, temperature gauges, motor litre steering wheel. It's all the right period stuff, because that's what I want to do.
As I said before, I love the carpets. Well, they're German, aren't they?
Yeah, German square weave, yeah.
Yeah, and you see a lot of them in, like, I had a 220 SE coupe. Yeah, it had exactly the same colour carpets and the same weave.
Yeah, so the square weave, I actually got the fabric from a local guy, and then I've reshaped, it's open, but I've reshaped all the back seats. So originally there's a big rounded lump in the middle. So I reshaped that so that you've got two buckets in the back, not that they get used much.
But do you ever carry anyone on the back with a square arse?
Do you know, the kids.
Doors so nice. Just to pull the window down?
Yeah, so there's no window mechs.
Oh wow.
It's all on. So this was my little nod to Magnus. So you mentioned Magnus.
Yeah.
This was my little nod to Magnus, which was, you know what, use what you've got. So this is horse tack that came from a car boot sale, as this is all off a bridle.
So what you grabbed, shut your door, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of Magnus's cars are just personalised, aren't they? And
it's
nice,
that's what it's about.
It's your car, you do what you want to do.
It is, that's exactly
Never
right.
mind
You enjoy your car. I always say this with classic cars. When you sell a classic car, it's always, what's wrong with it? And you're like, what do you mean, what's wrong with it? Well, there's stuff wrong with it. And you're like,
what's wrong with you? Buy it.
There's nothing wrong with it. But do you know what? When you get in it, you turn the key on, you give it 10 steps on the gas pedal, and then it starts. If you only give it 4, it doesn't start. But that's not a reason for you to ring me up and start having a go at me. Yeah. It's because I know that about my car.
All got all little idiosyncrasies, haven't they?
They all have, and if you live with them, it's brilliant. If you don't live with them, it's a really hard thing to get your head around.
Well, John,
really hard thing.
Thanks for showing me, mate.
Gary, pleasure, man.
And this is an original
This
Cobra,
is
yeah?
a 1963
47, is it?
that was famously driven in the film with Elvis Presley, called Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah. This is the very car, yeah?
That's the very car.
Wow. And what engine's in this? Is it 4.7, is it?
It's a 260, I think.
Right.
So it's quite a rare car.
They did a 7-litre one of these as well, didn't they?
They did a 427,
427
and a 289.
289, yeah.
If this was a 289, it would be much more competitive, but this is rarer, but it's not as fast as the other ones.
Yeah.
And because it's in period and it's an FIA approved car, there's only so much you can do with it. I mean, we're thinking about putting Weber carburetors on it, which should give us another 50 or 60 horsepower.
Yeah.
And then we can, we're more competitive. But everything has to be done in period, especially for Goodwood and stuff, and you can't mess about, really.
Oh, lovely car, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. When you hear the engine, it just purrs along. It's beautiful.
And it looks like you've lost a belt there.
Yep, we just lost a belt, lost a bit of fluid because of that. So we're just whizzing off around the corner to buy a new belt.
Is it one belt or two belts you've lost?
I think it's one. It's one, yeah.
Because there's one twisted on there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And
Well, I
you
think
were looking for another one on the track.
Well, Harvey heard it go, I think, and we just went round a couple of times to find it.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. So
Well, good
it's one
luck
of the
with that one,
funs.
trying to find a belt for that.
It's the fun of racing. It's if somebody said, "Why don't you go racing?" I'd say, "Yeah, it's a great idea." Until you see how much it costs, it's not such a good idea then. But it's for what we're doing, it's fantastic.
The roar of the oil, the smell of the crowd.
Yeah. You ever done any racing?
No.
No.
No, only when I was getting away from police.
So I picked this up last week in Italy for a client who wants us to recondition it and
Chris was
look
saying it's
after
got race pedigree.
It's got a lot of race pedigree. It's a genuine Healey 100 Le Mans, which there was a lot had the factory Le Mans kit. There was a lot of people who did that to it, but
This is an original one.
This is an original one, and to be honest, we've opened the bonnet. Obviously, we've done a quick oil change before we drove it down here. So, but we could have
Drove down today, didn't it?
Yeah, Chris drove it down last night.
And
I was going to put it
no
down.
heater.
Yeah, he said, I'll drive it. Like, you must be mad. Go on. So he drove it down. It's sweet as a nut, and we've had it out on the track. So, but as soon as we get it back to the shop, we'll do a full drain, all the fluids, replace everything.
So literally,
Just
this has
give it
been
a
sitting
once
up for a while, so it hasn't had much
Yeah,
action. So.
this was the gentleman that owned it. That was racing it. He passed away a couple of years ago, I think, but he'd just done a road rally event in Italy and dropped it into a garage in Florenzina, and it was there and sort of stuck there. We rolled it out, driven it down here, and just give it a little shake down because
Special car, isn't
yeah.
it? So you got a couple of Porsches here as well.
Yeah, we got a couple of
914.
Porsches, 9146, and that is, I think it's an ST, and then the 356 Outlaw over there. This little Peugeot race car's a lot of fun, and then obviously the Cobra, which we just threw a belt.
That's a really special car, isn't it?
It's our day.
There she is.
Hey,
How are
Liz.
you?
Of course, I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, how's the Porsche? I'm just doing a paint job on it at the moment.
Oh, I'll be judging that.
Yeah.
I'll be judging that.
Well, let me see. You'll have to give me marks out of 10. A couple of shock absorbers on the front. The power steering hose. I'm doing the main hose. A rear wheel bearing. and I've got to do a cam belt as well.
Ooh, are you doing it or?
Well, I'll probably end up doing it. I've been to like 4 different specialists, you know, all these mark specialists.
Yeah.
They come out with the uniform, you know, Porsche and all that. None of them want to touch it. They say they just want to work on 911s. Even Porsche Chester are called. I've called them twice now. They won't get back to me with an appointment.
What is it? What Porsche is it?
It's a 928 GT, the 5 litre.
Do you want me to do it?
You feel up to the job?
I've
heard you're quite tasty and all that.
A few
but
phone calls to my dad, talk me through it. I can have a go.
all right, I might take it up on that. I might take it up on that because I'm really busy at the moment, you know what I mean? So
It's not a nice job. I know why they're saying no.
it's not a difficult job. It's just that sometimes you get the odd bolt that'll snap or, you know. Listen, I might take it up on that.
Well.
Yeah. Do whatever you want.
More than happy to.
Save me doing it.
Yeah.
Do you feel up to the job, yeah? All right.
I like a challenge.
Watch this space. Yeah, I love a challenge as well. What are you doing in the shop at the moment? What are you working on personally?
Personally, I'm organising everybody and making sure everything's going smoothly. That's what I'm
I know
doing
you're
at
good
the
at
minute. Yeah,
Well, you're organising me anyway.
Still bits of body work for me to work on. I've been learning about detailing, which is fun, because obviously now I know how to paint, I've got to learn how to clean and polish the paint, so I'm enjoying that, that's fun. But
Top mechanic, top detailer.
Yeah, just
Put us all to shame.
bit of everything. Right, I'm going to go check on this lot, but yeah,
Nice
let
one,
me know
Luce.
and I'll
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Definitely, I might take it up on that.
See you later.
Cheers, Luce.
Should we grab a bite?
Yeah, come on, I'm starving. So yeah, a nice day out, some nice hospitality, some nice little cars. You know, I'm sure you all enjoyed it as much as I did. But yeah, I think you realise during the course of the afternoon and the conversation, I was going to get young Lucy to do the job because I just thought rather than watch me do it, it'd be much more interesting for a young girl to basically show all these so-called specialists what it's all about. She's a proper little mechanic. And I think it's, you know, I'm a huge advocate of you know, young people getting into the classic car business or just becoming mechanics. You know, there's not enough of them. You know, Lucy's such a brave, spirited, characterful young thing, and you know, we're kind of lacking people like that, mechanics anyway, in this country. It's all kind of like a dying art, you know, like I said before, we used to help our dads on a Sunday morning, whatever, tinkering about with his car, but everything's changed now and we seem to have missed a couple of generations, so it would have been nice to encourage that. But it just got to a point where the Paddock Speed Shop, who she works for, they're really busy, mad busy doing other things, and I felt like I was kind of waiting to be able to get an opportunity to take her out of that for a while, but it was just kind of holding me up, and I suppose I was procrastinating a little bit, you know, because I had other things going on. But yeah, so now I've decided you'll have to put up with me doing the job. So I'll do it myself and I'll get on this next week. So watch this space. And once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. And if you haven't yet clicked and liked and subscribed, do it now. All the best. Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you all next time.